Now we get to the design phase. So some of the things you need to think about at this stage is, how do I design around these holes? What will I use them for? And the other one is, how do you hang whatever mosaic you're doing? How are you going to hang it? Because that may or may not influence what you're doing with your beautiful design. So in this one, I'm going to be making, and I'll show you how to do it, a hanger, tailor-made hanger, out of nice black 12 gauge aluminium florist wire. So it needs to be able to go through that hole, which is great because that's probably about as thick as a grout line. You wouldn't want it any thicker than that one. See, it doesn't fit down. So the grout lines would be about 3 mil wide. So we want less than that in terms of grout lines. So here, I don't want it to be exactly horizontal or vertical in terms of the honeycombing. I've also got this one turned down because we wanted to test out the rough and bub. I really need a cup of coffee. The rub and buff to see how it would react to the glue. And we just want little, as small as you can make them, but not too small, remembering that some grouts will only do down to 1 mil and other grouts will only do down to 2. So think about what grout you're using. So I think that's a really good shape. So once, and when I have the hanger here and everything shaped, you'll hardly notice it at all. It'll just fit with the whole design. So now I'm going to lay it all out and see what I've got, and I'll come back to you at that point. I'm pretty confident this is how I want it to look. I don't want to incorporate the bees into the mosaic because I want to look like they've landed on the hive. So they're going to really pop. These are actually black. They've got a cover on them to protect them until the final application. Absolutely lovely. But it doesn't say this belongs to Sonja. My signature isn't here. Anybody could do this. Not to say there's anything wrong with it, but it doesn't say Sonja to me. So we all know I love curves. We all know I love 3D flowers, and I love feather cuts or slivers or whatever you want to call them. So I need to have at least a curve, some 3D flowers and slivers through here. So that would make it more Sonja, if you like. See how the rounding off of the points on the beehive sort of really adds to the gentleness of the hive. I hope you're liking it so far. So the next step is actually turning this bit into a bit of a circle. You can see the honeycomb is looking pretty terrific. Now how do I get that circle on the top there? Because I will cut on the smooth side, which is underneath, and I don't want to put pen on the underneath. So I'm going to mark it very roughly, well, sort of tacking marks, making sure that this is in the right posi. And then I can just pop the circle roughly to that and then see if I need to correct it. So let me just swap-a-roo places here, because it's a circle, it doesn't matter where I put it now, but that gives me a place in which to place it for my cutting line. And of course I will cut that on the other side. Not much here. I'll use the bits and pieces that I've cut off to tack in at the end. Now, there are 3 things that my son nags me about. One is take the points off to take your mosaic to the next level. Make sure when you do a curve there are no flat spots, and make sure your grout lines are grout lines. So I have this tool here to help me draw curves. Now I want a nice big sweeping curve down to probably, let's line this up on the edge here, and we'll make it a sweeping curve this way, and you'll see how it works. Another quilting tool. They come in really handy. Let's go red this time, because I botched it up before trying to do it freehand, And I'll just stick my pen in there and draw the curve. Then I'll leave it in the same spot and I'll bring it all the way over to that first bit there. I don't want to lose too much of the beehive. So then if I turn it around, let's see what we've got in terms of, is this an acceptable design? So back to lining it up again, because once you line it up, this is going to be so easy. So that's the spot that needs to be hung. This one needs to go on the outside edge, and then our curve coming in. So I might bring this a little bit further towards that spot there and bring this around to here. So it goes now there. I'm going to flip this upside down, cut this off, cut these out and see what we've got. I'll only cut this lot, of course, because this might come over to this side here to make this curve here. That's a much better approach. Good thinking, 99. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, so I flipped it over and now I can do this cut, but I've got black on black, so I need to make sure I can see the line. I'm going to add a piece of white paper underneath that. Now I've flipped it over, so now I've got smooth side for cutting and scoring. Get all your tools out and score away. I don't think you need to see me scoring again. We will then cut this out and then flare the curve. So this is fitting reasonably well, and I just need a little bit of minute grinding on the edges, which will make that just spot on. Make sure they're all in the right posse, because we're just really fine-tuning our design and making sure everything's where it should be. And remember, I said flare it. Old dressmakers like myself will know what flaring is all about. So all I want to do was flare it to that hole, because this is where we're going to put a couple of little 3D flowers and maybe some, or they may even be clear slivers up here while the bees are having a lovely time in their hive. So now we go back to proof of concept. We've got our lovely honeycomb here with our testing of the rub and buff, our bees doing their thing, the side bit with the river of something or other. So I'm thinking, so some yellow flowers, probably 3. I have 3 bees working in 3s here. 3 lots of little clear flowers, or just clear flowers, just yellow flowers. And I think the slivers may need to be clear. I'd love your thoughts on the next step. So I think that's the proof of concept in terms of the design is finished. So final decisions before I start to glue. I hope you've enjoyed this process of mine.